Please, I can't sleep.
It's time to listen to Courtney at last on the Ramblings of an Insomniac podcast.
Hello, and welcome to another episode of the Ramblings of an Insomniac. I am Courtney. Good morning, good afternoon, good evening. How is everyone? What's going on in your world today? Hey, I'm not going to lie, this episode may be kind of a buzzkill, period. I always like to give disclaimers so people don't waste their time and energy. If you're up for a positive, happy, uplifting type of podcast, today is not that day. I can't guarantee that I can give you that today. Today I'm not feeling the most uplifted or happy. I'm feeling like I just want to sit here and cry, and I can't because I have too many things I need to do, unfortunately. But one of the things I get to do, I will say something happy and something incredibly positive, and that is I get to see my grandson. I haven't seen him in 3 weeks. And so I get to see him today, and I'm very, very excited about that. And that is something that I'm super happy and positive. It's a positive thing. So I'm trying to focus on that. I can't be crying if I'm going to go see him. I can't be in a bad headspace if I'm going to go hang out with him. We're going to go to this indoor sandbox place, which is funny considering I'm from the coast, but I don't live at the coast now. So we're going to go to this indoor sandbox place and spend some time together. So I'm super looking forward to that. And that definitely is why I'm trying very hard to just, control what I can, let go of everything else. But let me tell you, that said, my dog is sitting here being crazy. Sorry. That said, it's been a struggle. Um, I've been dealing with a lot. I've had just an immense amount of things going on in my life. And while these things are going on, I have to manage my business. I have to put on my professional face. I have to be a boss. I have to, make sure that my customers have, that they're satisfied and that I'm not being negative around them. And I have to make sure that my staff is doing what they need to do and not getting involved in my drama, and that they don't even know that I have drama. The goal is for them to not even be aware that I have drama going on. But it sucks because the problem is, everywhere I go, I have to put on a brave face, suck it up, cover up that, crying. Sorry, now my dog is drinking very loudly in the background. But again, I'll say it's like that Miranda Lambert song, this 8-year mama's broken heart. I just feel like I am forever having to suck it up, and I don't have anyone to vent to because the only people I have left in my family is myself, my 2 sons, and my grandson. That's it. The rest of my family has died, and they've been dead for a long time, with the exception of my mom. It'll be 3 years next month. April is just a real shit month for me. Like I've mentioned before, my birthday is in April, and it sucks because my biological dad and my dog both died at the same time on my 9th birthday. I had a grandma that died on my 25th birthday. I've had a cousin that died on my birthday. My mom died right before my birthday. My other grandma died right after my birthday, within a week, both of them. And so it's just not the greatest month, and that's coming up. So it's all these anniversaries of death. And I just am not getting along. I don't get along with my youngest son. Unfortunately, we have a very, very strained relationship, and we always have. Almost since birth, we have just not seen eye to eye. And people are going to listen to that and go, oh my God, you didn't get along with your own baby? And that's not what I mean. I just mean that he was severely colicky. He was super colicky. And he's always been we just are very, 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 very opposite. And sometimes opposites can get along fantastically. Sometimes two people that are polar opposite are the best thing in the world for each other because you balance each other out. For everything you aren't, the other person is, and vice versa. They are the yin to your yang. And people think that when you're a parent, it means that you have this just, um, that you can't have a strained relationship because you gave birth to this human and they're your child and you are supposed to love them unconditionally. And I do love my sons, both of them, more than I can even express. I love them both equally, but I don't have an equal relationship with them. I don't get along with both of them equally, and my relationship with my youngest son is just incredibly, incredibly strained. And we can't seem to get there. And he tends to be one of those people when he's angry that says very, very evil, mean, heartbreaking things, unforgivable things. He lashes out and he says whatever he can to really, really hurt somebody. And unfortunately, when you deal with that for 27 years, and you also came from a background of verbal abuse and mental abuse and physical abuse, it doesn't go well. I grew up with cops at my house all the time, and I watched my parents punch holes in the wall and throw glasses at each other and plates at each other and try to punch each other and scream and yell constantly. And they were drunk all the time and they would pass out with cigarettes in their hands. So I had to constantly stay awake so that I could make sure that if they passed out with a cigarette in their hand, the house wouldn't burn down. And then they would get up in the middle of the night and stumble for a cigarette and light another cigarette and then pass out again. So I was constantly awake, making sure that cigarettes were put out. And my parents would leave and they wouldn't come home until like 2 in the morning. And this would be when I was like 9 years old. So I spent a lot of time with my neighbors. They would drag me around to different churches. I've gone to so many different types of churches. Um, and they tried to take me under their wing, and it was so sweet. I had a lot of neighbors that just really um, watched out for me, looked out for me because I didn't have that. Well, granted, I also am a Generation Xer, and we were all kind of latchkey kids, We were all wandering around aimlessly without any supervision. So I'm not talking about that. I mean, that's kind of normal for my generation. And let me be clear, I know that again, I call him I've had 3 fathers. I've had a biological father that I didn't know. He died, like I said, on my 9th birthday, and he wasn't a part of my life. Um, and then I briefly had another father for like 2 years. And then my mom married who I consider my dad and who I call my dad. Um, and he wasn't mean to me. He wasn't abusive to me. Um, but unfortunately, my mom and him were incredibly volatile and explosive with each other. And, you know, when you have 3 dads, by the time you're 7 years old, it's a lot. And when you grow up around addicts and you have to care for yourself and you're constantly having to be the parent and the responsible one, you do one of two things when you get older. You either end up continuing to be the parent and the one that's always watching out for everybody else and making sure everybody else is cared for and making sure everybody else is safe, and you kind of put yourself last, or you end up being an addict. And I ended up being the caregiver. I'm not saying this to toot my own horn or say that I'm great or anything like that. I'm just saying that's the path I ended up taking. And I don't drink much because of the background I came from. I'm not against people drinking if they're not alcoholics. They can handle their shit and they don't get mean. But here's what also happens. You end up dating people that are either, again, very nurturing people that aren't addicts and don't drink or do drugs or whatever, and that don't yell and scream and all of that. Or you end up with people that are like your parents, and that's what I did. So I ended up being the caregiver that takes care of everyone, that picks really shitty people. And then I stick with those people for years and years and years because it's the caregiver in me. It's the one that's like, I feel like if you just get enough love, maybe you won't drink. Maybe you won't do drugs. Maybe if someone believed in you, you would be better. And I guess that's kind of narcissistic. I guess that's kind of narcissistic to think that you can just saunter in and like fix somebody. And maybe it's narcissistic to think that someone needs fixing. Lord knows I'm not saying that I'm perfect. I'm not saying that I didn't contribute to the downfall of any of my relationships. I'm not a perfect human. But one thing I don't do is call people names, say hurtful things. I'm more of if I die tomorrow, I don't want the last thing that you hear out of my mouth to be something that you can't take back. I don't want it to be something so hurtful that it sticks with you forever. And I get real tired of people going, well, I just say it because I'm hurt. I just say it because I'm angry and I'm trying to hurt you. Okay, well, congratulations. Mission accomplished. You did hurt me. You achieved exactly what you set out to do. And again, it's one thing if someone apologizes. Unfortunately, I end up with people that not only don't apologize, but somehow it's my fault that they told me they want me to die a horrible death and they hope that I get tortured. That I'm a see you next Tuesday and that you hope I die. Like these are things that have been said to me by my own son and by my ex. And it's just weird because I don't know. I just can't imagine saying stuff like that to somebody that you're supposed to love, that's supposed to be family. I can imagine being angry with somebody, and sometimes we say things we don't mean, but I don't say those things. I think the worst I've ever called someone is an asshole. I've said, you're being an asshole. I don't even say you're an asshole. I say you're being an asshole. There is a difference if you ask me, but I'm not saying that's okay either. Name calling isn't okay, no matter what the name is. Screaming and yelling and punching holes in the wall. That's also what my ex used to do. There are like 10 holes in our house. And it's frustrating because, again, I grew up around that. I grew up around people getting drunk and getting violent. And then I pick somebody that's an alcoholic that tells me that they're not drinking anymore and tells me that they've quit drinking, and then they end up starting to drink and they do it behind my back and they think that I don't notice. That's what cracks me up about addicts too. They all think that they are so sly, that they just are so sneaky and smart. And the funny thing is, remember, the first rule about being under the influence is that it impairs your judgment. Remember, it impairs your judgment. That's why people get drunk or do drugs, because it impairs you. So you're not sneaky. You usually do things that are so ridiculously, blatantly obvious that it doesn't take a rocket scientist to know that you're being shady. And yet every fucking addict is like, oh, I'm going to do this thing and they're never going to be the wiser. I can spot an alcoholic. I can spot someone that's had a drop of alcohol. I'm like a alcohol sniffing dog. I can smell if you've had a sip of alcohol. And again, part of growing up around addicts is you are observant. You learn people's tells. You observe people. You watch their mannerisms. You watch what they do when they say this, when they feel this way, when they do this thing. You observe how their body language is. You observe their mannerisms. And you do that so that you know to prepare yourself. If you see a change, you're like, oh, this person's been drinking. I better watch out. This person's angry. I better watch out. Oh, this person seems to be in a good mood today. Maybe I can approach them. So when you grow up around people that drink and drink and drink and they do drugs and all of that, you aren't, to everybody out there that's an addict, you're not the first addict, okay? You didn't invent addiction. This isn't something that you get to plant your flag on and act like you're just suddenly the most sneaky, shady person in the world. Every addict thinks they're sneaky and shady. And again, I'm here to tell you, all you addicts out there, you're not. I don't know. I guess I'm just tired of putting my whole heart into people, trusting people, forgiving people when they don't even apologize. My own son and my ex used to say, again, the most horrific things imaginable to me. And then not only not apologize, but blame me. I made them do that. You know how the abuser that abuses their spouse, they hit their spouse, they physically hurt their spouse, and then they go, you did this, you made me do this. That's what I deal with. And unfortunately, when you only have 4 people in your life and one of them you don't get along with, and one of them tells you what a horrible monster you are, knowing that I was a single mom and I went out of my way to make sure I was nothing like my parents. I made sure that my kids knew that I was there for them. I went to every parent teacher conference, every sports event. I made sure that we went on hikes and we went on walks and we did board games. I made sure that we had family night where we sat at the table and we weren't allowed to have our phones and we talked. I made sure that I traveled with them and took them places. I had jobs that I hated, absolutely hated, just so that I could make sure I was home with my kids. I haven't moved out of the state of Oregon because I want to make sure that I'm here for my oldest son and my grandson. My kids have called me at 3 in the morning, 2 in the morning, 1 in the morning, drunk off their butts, and I've been the one to go and get them. No questions asked. Just happy that they called me and didn't drink and drive. Happy that they listened when I told them, please don't drink and drive. Please call me and I won't say a word. I'll just come and get you because I'm proud that you didn't drink and drive. And they've done that. And I held to my word. And somehow my youngest is just, I hate to say this. I hate when you are a mother and you give birth to a child and you're not close to them and you think that child is not the best person in the world. That is incredibly, incredibly hard for a parent to admit that maybe they did something wrong. Maybe that's why their their child is so narcissistic. I have one of the most narcissistic children. He is so up his own ass. It's not even funny. And so spiteful. And I hate to say this, but there's another human in his life that is the same way. He is exactly like someone else in his family. And that's why that someone else and I don't get along because he is exactly like that other family member. And so, shocker, he also doesn't get along with his father. He and his father have identical personalities. What's funny is my son and I have opposite personalities, and he and his father have identical personalities, and my son doesn't get along with either of us because he's a narcissist. Again, I love my son more than life itself, and I want so much to get along, and I try. I have tried everything I can. But when someone's 27 years old, almost 28 years old, and your relationship has been crap for that long, it's hard. When you've had to try and work so hard just to get along with your own child, it is very, very heartbreaking. And when you're doing that while you're also working 50 hours a week and you just got out of a 13-year relationship, and that 13-year relationship was full of lies and deceit and abuse, and now you are no longer on property with all of your animals, and you had to now suddenly have joint custody with your animals and start a whole new life. I've done it before. I was in another relationship for 7 years. Before that, I was in a relationship for 5 years. And before that, my kids' dad and I were together from the time I was 14 until I was 23. So I've always been in very long, long relationships, and I have been faithful and good. I don't know. And when you don't have anybody to vent to because all your friends live far away, it's just hard. And you feel alone. And you just want to cry, but you can't because you got to hold back the tears because you have to work, or because people, you just can't be crying when you're going to go see your grandson. You can't be crying when you're going to work. So you have to cry in the comfort of your own home when no one else is around. And there's days that you just want your mom. And there's days that you wish to God you could just have your mom around. But you can't because fucking Joe Biden and fucking Fauci killed her. The fucking lefties killed a bunch of people, and they have blood on their hands, and there's no consequences for that either. And I'm just getting real fucking tired of shit people in the world being crappy to people while all the good people in the world suffer. I'm tired of no accountability. Politicians have no accountability. Celebrities, no accountability. Shitty, mean people seem to live 1,000 years. And they seem to just walk this earth and roam this earth telling everybody else what they need to change and what they need to do better while being shit people that don't have jobs, that are lazy, that don't pay child support, that don't take care of their kids, that abuse people, that claim that they're victims and oppressed, that find things to complain about, that look for things to complain about. Most people don't even know I have things going on in my life because I just try not to bring everybody into my drama. But once in a while, a girl's got to cry because, again, we're humans and I'm not a robot. And that's what emotions are for, to use them, right? I don't know. I'm just struggling. The anniversary of my mom's death is coming up, and my grandparents and just everybody that I love has died in April. And my birthday is supposed to be in April, and it's just overshadowed by tragedy. Have you ever noticed that April in general throughout history has just been a shit month? I mean, Hitler's birthday is in April, and the Titanic sank in April. The Oklahoma bombing was in April. Prince died on my birthday. Not that I know Prince, but he did die on my birthday. Um, Abe Lincoln was shot in April. It's just a lot of stuff. If you look through history, it's just April is like the death month or something. And it's like I have this cloud of My whole life has been Murphy's Law. It's like the more I try, the more things go wrong. What can go wrong does go wrong. It's like just getting out of bed every morning is this gigantic struggle. I'll usually trip and fall or run into something, and carrying groceries, the bag will drop. It's just how my life is. And yet I genuinely try to still get up every day and go out, and I give clothes to the homeless. I give food to the homeless. I go around to assisted living facilities and try to visit people. I give people my phone number and say they can call at all hours of the night. I donate to humane societies. I just try. I really do try. But sometimes I'm a bitch. Sometimes I'm negative. Sometimes I'm not in a good mood and I don't handle things well because, again, I'm a human and I'm not a robot, and sometimes I fuck up. But here's the deal: when I'm in a bad mood, it doesn't last long. It lasts for maybe a half an hour to maybe one day. Maybe I'm in a sad mood for a whole day. Oh my God, I'm such an evil person. But the difference is, too, I apologize. I have no no problem with admitting I'm wrong. Do I want to be wrong? Do I like being wrong? Of course not. But I'll admit it. I've never understood people that just cannot ever fucking think that they are wrong. It is always excuses, excuses, excuses. I did this because. I did this because. No, there's not a because. You did it. You chose. You didn't have a gun to your head. Now, if you had a gun to your head, okay. Otherwise, you chose. If you didn't have a gun to your head and someone wasn't threatening you, then you chose to do something. So take accountability. But there's no accountability in the world today, and that's why people like my son are walking around narcissistic and entitled. And it's super tragic when it's your own child and you love that child and you just can't understand where things went wrong. There's just a lot. And I have mascara on, and I never wear mascara, so I can't cry. I have to, fake it until I make it, control what I can. So for today, I'm going to focus on the fact I get to see my beautiful, wonderful grandson, my perfect little angel. I get to see my older son for a minute. He has to work, but I get to hug him. He is an amazing father. He's the best father. He's such a good son. He's a good human. He's messed up. He has made mistakes. He's made some big ones, but he has taken accountability for them. He's apologized for them, and he's doing everything he can to right his wrongs. He's doing everything he can to be a better person. Now, someone's going to be like, clearly you have a favorite. Well, I don't have a favorite. I just have a son that I get along with and one that I have, unfortunately, a horrible relationship with. Again, I love them both equally, but I don't get along with them equally. I don't have the same things in common with both of them. My older son and I are very similar. It's hard being a parent, really is. And I get tired of people being so hard on parents. Sometimes you can be the best parent in the whole damn world. You can do everything textbook, and your kid can still fuck up. They can still be a murderer. They can still be a rapist. They can still be a drug dealer. They can still be a narcissist. You can They can grow up in the best world imaginable and they can still turn out to be not good people. The alternate is true. You could have the worst parents in the world. You could come from the worst background ever and turn out to be an amazing human, a successful, wonderful, kind, awesome human. So it isn't always up to the parent. There's nature and nurture. And there's also just people are wired, how people are wired. There's psychology. Some people are just wired to be a sociopath or to be a killer. You can't really help that. I'm not calling my son a sociopath or a killer, by the way. I'm just calling him a narcissist. Anyway, I told you, this is a Debbie Downer. This is not the episode to listen to if you want to pick me up. I'm just sharing. I'm just letting you know that all the parents out there, if you're going through it, it's hard. Anybody out there, if you're going through it, and if you're in a crap relationship, get out of it. Life is short. Take it from someone that's been in many crap relationships. And like I said, I have to take responsibility for picking the people I do. I always pick broken people that I think I can fix. It's a woman thing, I think. And that sounds narcissistic. I'm not trying to say that, oh, poor little things, I feel sorry for you. Here, let the old wise one take care of you. That's not how I look at it. I just am a compassionate person. And when I see something that I feel is suffering, or I see something that I feel is having a hard time and struggling, I want to mother it. I want to nurture it. I want to help it. So I pick broken people. And then I'm like, wow, why do I keep having people treat me like shit? Well, because I keep picking broken people. And I allow it. And I stay with them for years and years, thinking that they're going to change and forgiving when I don't get apologies. Or it'll be the whole, shower me with gifts thing. That's what a lot of my exes do. They shower me with gifts instead of apologizing. They blame me and they say it's my fault. And then they shower me with gifts. It's that whole thing. It's awesome. And trying to work, especially overtime, and trying to, take care of your house and do your errands and take care of your animals. And it doesn't leave a lot of time for yourself, but I need to learn to take it. I started doing my photography again. I started writing again. And again, I'm not a rich person. I don't own a horse. The only reason that I get to ride is instead of paying for lessons, lessons are $65. I feed horses or I muck stalls. So no, I'm not a privileged white woman. Even if I did have a horse and even if I did have a yacht and a helicopter pad, doesn't make me a privileged white woman. Sounds to me like it was a hardworking person that earned her money. Anyway, people need to start taking accountability. And hey, kids out there, start treating your parents right. Anyway, sorry to be a buzzkill. I hope, though, that wherever you are, whatever you're doing, I hope that it's positive. I hope that you're having a great day. And again, control what you can. That's what I'm doing today. What I can control is going to put all my time and energy on a beautiful soul like my grandson and focus on my dogs. And looks like the sun's trying hard to shine. So that is what I'm going to do today. And I suggest that you all try to do the same. Try to pick one thing, even if it seems insignificant and silly, one thing you can focus on that's positive and one thing you can control. And that is listening to my podcast. You can do that. And I appreciate those of you that chose to do that. Thank you so stinking much. Thank you. You are amazing. You are wonderful. You are great. I can't tell you how much I appreciate everybody that's been listening every day. I know that I can be boring and I know that I'm not the most exciting person in the world. Like I said, I'm just here to share what's going on in the hopes that maybe someone out there might be like, yeah, I get it. Maybe someone else is going through the same. And again, I originally started this to bring awareness to the Biden administration and COVID and how that affected so many people, and my mom and her dementia, and talk about dementia. So you guys rock my socks, and I appreciate each and every one of you. So thank you again. Tell a friend, tell a neighbor, and until next time.